with the owner's comment period.
So they did a good job with that too.
All right, we'll start. How about we start from the front and then we'll go back? How does that sound?
Make a big wave.
Woo!
We're here from Spring Lake to get clarification on the roofs. When we bought our townhouse, we were told the roof was covered. Now we're told the metal section is not.
Where?
So we feel like we've been misled, misjudged
Spring Lake.
by David Weekley.
Okay, gotcha.
Spring
So, Spring Lake, this is the roof, the change that was made that we had heard, not change, but the
It's
one
not a
that...
change. I don't have a microphone.
This new townhouse? Yeah.
It's actually the way that David Weekley had the documents written for the townhomes. All of the asphalt roofs, every building has an asphalt roof, is covered by the service area.
Right.
But they specifically wrote in the documents that for those units that had small sections of metal roofing, that expense would be billed back to the owners.
Right, 'cause that
And
was...
that's what was represented in the service area responsibilities,
Gotcha. So that's the part that was different from, I guess, from unit to
from
unit.
all of the other service areas.
The
Gotcha.
problem is that liaison for David Weekley is not explaining it that way. They explained it that the roofs were covered and that went into our homeowners' fee that we pay every month. So I feel like I've been misjudged, misguided, misrepresented through them. Now all of a sudden you're getting a letter saying this is not covered? We've been there a year and a half.
Right, and Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't a change from the original documentation, it was just that now it's being brought to to
Right,
everyone's
that's how the
attention, right?
original documents were written prior to them marketing the townhomes. The only thing that we did was we compiled all that information and put it in that matrix so that it could be distributed to the owners and they wouldn't have to go looking through their documents.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
Obviously, there was some miscommunication between the sales
The
office.
sales office is telling you one thing and the document is now telling you another thing.
Gotcha.
So who is held responsible? They can just say whatever they want to sell the homes?
Actually, they can. They have. It's a history.
They may have been confused
And
themselves.
it's just like the painting. They were supposed to come back and repaint my porch. Now I'm told I can wait up to 3 years, not to bother them. So who's responsible to come back and paint the shoddy workmanship that the painters did?
Have you filed under your warranty program?
No, we called the warranty and told them.
Okay.
And then we went back to the liaison and spoke to her, and she said, don't come back. We have 3 years, we're not going anywhere.
Well, I would encourage you to submit your concern in writing so that you've got it documented and
Go to Channel
record
9
when you
News.
contacted them. And I would hold on to that and just keep checking in with them that you need them to come back out and paint it. But you definitely want to have a record in writing.
Okay, I have an email that I had sent to them previously.
Yeah, I would actually put it in the letter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
There's always 9 on your side.
Yes, ma'am.
They love an article like that in the TV.
Erica Banger, 1119 Rush Street. I have a few observations about yesterday's recreational committee meeting about 4 o'clock. It was a good meeting. The first is that there was no place for community input during the meeting, and I finally had to interrupt to get to make a comment, which was nice of Jack to notice me waving my hand around in the back. So perhaps in future that might be something that you could add, because Adam did mention on the front porch that there would be a place to mention, so I was sitting quietly.
I apologize because Adam was late getting there, so we just want to get something started because
Right.
we had a follow-on meeting at 5:30.
Okay. Second, I appreciate the committee looking into the whole idea about the need for walking and biking paths in the civic corridor, and I'll be really interested to see what information comes out of that, but I appreciate you looking into that. Thirdly, I am concerned about what looks like a continuing rush to coat the civic corridor and ball fields for organized sports. I was troubled that each time a mention was made of the community wanting green spaces, members of the committee seemed to conflate that as a de facto support for athletic fields, which it absolutely emphatically was not. To many of us, green spaces means unstructured space with trees, obstructions, shade, benches, and other landscaping, which is open and available to all residents all the time, and not just when teams are not already in possession of the field. The passive parks, which were included in the 2010 survey, which is cited so often when we're talking about this space. There are already fields for organized sports and celebration, but very few areas that I would consider a park, a place where people can go just to absorb time outside in a natural setting or throw a frisbee under shade trees. The civic corridor represents our last large undeveloped area, and your current funding source is the largest pot of money you will see at one time. I've looked over the 2010 survey and ask you to please be sure to tailor the planning for the desires of all the Celebration residents. So I don't know, are you talking more about the whole civic thing tonight, or was that what the workshop was last night, or?
Jack, Vanessa, I think that it's an ongoing discussion with the recreation planning workshops, correct me if I'm wrong, right? It wasn't something that was specifically going to be discussed tonight, it was just that there was going to be an update given as part of the strategic plan.
The next meeting, though, is the July 21st at 4 o'clock right here. So that would be the best time to make sure you revisit it, too.
Okay.
And we'll definitely be here, too.
I did have something, though, about, it was when you brought up about the paths yesterday, of course, was like, oh, yeah, duh. Good idea. But I think, being at one point on the CDD and stuff, most of the paths in the community, 90% of them, maybe almost, higher, are CDD paths. And, when you look at kind of the CDD, I think the question is, what is the CDD doing? Maybe that's a question for them in terms of, it is that they're the ones that control all the paths that we know of. And I think it's
What I suggested.
ongoing as the community is growing. Are we doing any improvements or anything else like that? And I think that there is a discussion, maybe to maybe go to the next CDD meeting to ask them, we have passed, but maybe what's their plan for the next 5 to 10 years type thing.
And I have talked to them
Yeah.
about that in particular, and their plan for the CDD is for their property, what they own, not what
Right.
CROA owns.
Sure.
To put in the paths, but at this point, they're waiting to hear from you as to the handoff of where you're going to continue your path. And when I talked to Eric about that, there was a bridge or something that was definitely not going to be funded for some time. And I know it's a large property back there.
I wasn't
but-
really specifically talking about that piece of property because we have to talk to the CDD. I would rather, certainly their job is mostly infrastructure, so I think it behooves us to kind of talk to them to kind of maybe have them build the road and maybe the pathway and maybe the bridge and the other stuff, and possibly they should own it also. But I just meant long-term in terms of other improvements. So if you look at, say, the pathways over the years, nothing's changed. We've added, when I was in the CD, we added a couple signs, don't slip and trip and that kind of stuff. When at one time we talked about even a water fountain, down on a pathway by the high school, something simple like that, and even putting a doggy fountain down there. And it literally, the board at the time was not even interested. How are we going to maintain? So I think that maybe it is an opportunity also for you is how do we improve those things and not just maintain things, and maybe ask the CDD to look at a plan, that they own a certain amount of space in the community, and maybe how do we improve some of the paths or that kind of stuff, because we've been doing things for a long time, but maybe we want to improve things. And I just felt like I haven't gotten in front of them to say this, but maybe it's something that you, if you're interested in pathways, and maybe you have other ideas to improve the existing path that we have.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty happy
Yeah.
with the state of our current paths. They're lit, they're fairly well laid out, and like I said, they are working on, well, maybe I didn't say it, they're working on enhancing the one behind Evander Square, which was slipped through with no pathway.
Interesting,
basically.
yeah, okay.
So that's about a $360,000 project that they're already looking at. So, again, we have this huge piece of property in the Civic Corridor, and pieces are apparently owned by every entity in Florida, and trying to figure out who's going to do what. But I can't imagine CDD is going to say, yes, we'll come in here and build a pathway through CROA property.
Actually, we are
So-
meeting jointly
Are you?
on July 21st together, CDD and CROA
Super.
representatives. We're meeting together, there's communication, and what you saw at the meeting you were at yesterday, there was a representative from CDD
Right.
on that board, and of course Lee has passed on, so I think that they are looking at together. And as far as I know, in the Civic Corridor, there's only 3 entities there.
No.
Well, you have the golf
There's,
course.
you got the golf, there's several,
You have the
yeah.
golf
Well,
course.
I've got
you
to
have everybody.
Yeah.
But ones that we can do anything about, we've got CROA, CDD,
Be nice
and
when we get the
golf
golf course property.
TCC, DOT, everybody.
Yeah,
So-
there's,
Every
there's any initial, it's in there.
The other ones, I don't know what we can do there, but we can try.
Okay, well, I will again bring it to their attention.
Absolutely.
But so when is that meeting that you're having? That's with
Actually, it's
CDD?
going to be, but that's why we're doing the
meetings,
workshop, the original workshop or the one on the 21st at 4 o'clock here. The reason why we did it at 4 is because we have a joint meeting for with CCDD at the library. Oh, they moved it here? Oh, here, so at 6:30.
Is that open to?
It is, absolutely.
absolutely.
It's a public meeting, just like all the other ones are.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Erica.
Thanks, Erica. Yes, ma'am.
July 21st.
I think they just moved it here.
Eileen Laura, 1138 Mosaic. Before I start, I gotta give you a little update.
You got your luggage?
No, it's a really sad story, and it's the reason I'm going to mention it, because it actually got stolen, and I ended up with a visit from the an undercover narcotics detective.
Really?
From Orange County. They found. I'm sorry. They found my a wallet that had a copy of my passport and license, and in fact, that was the only, because I had a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm only mentioning this, and where the rest of the luggage is, I have no idea. But I did get a few valuable pair of glasses back, so I have a few things. But I am just warning you that if anybody's particularly flying in to MCO, be very careful. Make sure you get to your luggage very promptly and get it off the carousel, and keep an eye on it, because this obviously, I'm sure, was not, and it was a young drug user, and they found it. It didn't, my luggage was supposed to go, they thought it went to Disney World, but instead it went to a drug dealer. It was really
Not the
terrible.
vacation you were expecting. Yeah.
I was expecting. It's very sad. I'm going to just say something about what Erica said, which I think is important, because to me, when I look at it, it's not sports facilities that we keep talking about. It is grass-based for sports facility. It's very specific. We aren't talking about people who want pickleball or anything, or basketball courts. It's a very subgroup of a subgroup that basically seems to be all over the place. The 3D grass, if we were actually taking the Civic Corridor and we were talking it into a interesting multi-purpose sports facility with a multi-purpose hard court and a multi-purpose grass court, that starts to make some sense. But to me, I look at this thing and I need a clarification from Jack, that you said that there's just going to be a temporary.
I never said that, actually.
Yeah, I must have.
Steve made mention that we could probably put grass down there, just bare grass, and that's.
Is it clear? I mean, I made the point that
was just a suggestion.
I don't.
And we never really voted on anything, except actually the board members can't vote on it anyway. What really came out of the meeting last night was that we would pursue the dog park. Actually, that would be the recommendation from the task force to the board, is pursue the dog park, and then look at a splash pad at Lakeside, and then for 3 people to get together and talk with DOT or Reedy Creek as far as getting right of way along the corridor for building a path. And that's basically where we ended.
Okay, I mean, I must have misheard, because something that would be very helpful would just be to see actual pictures of what the Civic Corridor looks like. We get renderings of what it will look like, but...
You can drive over there, too. You can go back.
I mean, I thought it was restricted back there. We can drive back
Well, if
there?
you wouldn't get bit by ticks and everything else.
Well, actually, if you play golf, take the cart a little bit off the 11th fairway and go across there, and you'll find it's a very rough area.
Google Earth is probably your
Okay,
best
but we're
way
not going to
actually
do any big
Yes.
work. It would really be more of a
That's right. There you go.
practice field area than, and still could become anything.
Eileen, let me address this very quickly. I took note of what Steve said about $4.8 million to build the whole thing out. And I said, Steve, can you break it down? He said, no, not really. I said, did it include the bridge? And I got to thinking, I said, look, if we collect roughly $600,000 or plus or minus a year, I mean, we're talking 8 years if every bit of that money was devoted towards that particular property. And we have so many other amenities that we're going to be dealing with first. So anything that goes in there is going to be spotty at best.
Okay.
You know, it's not going to be completed for a long, long time.
The one exception that I'd like to clarify, and jump in if I'm wrong, Jack, is the dog park. 'Cause that
No, the
was-
dog
yeah,
park is done deal.
Dog park's done deal.
That's done deal.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for appointing me to the Parks Commission, and I think I'd like to say, thank you to Dory and Steve, because I don't know, you guys just had like files in the back, because, I've seen some of your preliminary ideas and some of the preliminary amenities, and I was one of the people who was willing to accept an interim dog park, and this is just so exciting. Luggage, really pleased.
Sorry about that.
Well, Eileen, just keep coming to the meetings because it's going to progress. All we did initially was to all they did initially was to say, this is where we'd like to go first, more to follow.
Okay, so then I'd just like to say a quick thing about, and again, it's going to be back to Steve, who I sort of left out of the conversation for a long time when I talked about this, but when I looked at the plan, and I just want to give you sort of a holistic feeling, and something bothered me about it. And it was actually Steve who said to me, he said, what people value most, and tell me if I get this wrong, is green space. And then I realized it really put it all together to me, that I was saying, we're putting this here, we're putting this here, we're putting this here, we're putting this here, and we were taking away a lot of I agree completely with Erica. The green space is green space. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't be used for kids to play on, but when they're done, let's take the equipment off and either build shelters or something else. My grandchildren play soccer in London parks, and when they're finished, the goals go away. Once you put a goal down, even like, what is it East Village where they have the lacrosse stuff? Kids aren't going to go out there and play other games because you're running around the goal. It defeats the whole purpose. It no longer becomes a green space. And I think, and yes, the number was 90% on the survey that said, what do you value the most? What's the most important? What do you value of all the amenities? Almost 90% said passive neighborhood parks. That's not a sports field. And the last thing was, I was thinking about the famous pickleball question, and I'd like you to, think about this, because you asked me the question, where are the pickleball people? Well, where are we? You never invited them. The plan was presented, and then basically the board took the position that it was done, it was presented, there's no more discussion. Not everybody's like me, who will come back even when people say no, and come back and come back and back.
But can I just say, that's one of the reasons we list our phone numbers and our emails on all the communications. And I get calls or an email at least once or twice a day, because not everyone wants to talk in public.
From the pickleball people?
From all kinds of people, you'd be surprised.
Right. But the question is...
we're not going to target a certain group and say, pickleball people.
But the question is, we never there were pickleball people and skateboard people and celebrators, particularly...
They're all residents. Everyone's invited.
Who came to all of the workshops and contributed ideas and, were listed on the things that I was discussing yesterday, the most important things, the things that people really, really wanted. And then when the final plan came out, they got 0. And then on top of that, there was, and I asked the board any number of times, and I asked individual members, I said, okay, you presented the plan, people get to think about it, now let's have a meeting to talk about it. And the answer is no, we had our meetings, that's it, there will be no more meetings, done.
Well, I think we have there's a difference in perception of marketing here, is what it really is. The master recreation planning workshops that are going on now, as we mentioned, we've listened to, and Vanessa, jump in if I'm wrong here on this, but there's obviously some concern with the meetings being held too early, to allow some people, maybe after work, that they're able to come in. So I know that there's been some investigation on holding that, maybe a little bit later in the future. The only things so far that have been set in stone, anything, are dog park, and they're investigating. We haven't voted or approved any funding for a splash pad at Lakeside. Everything else, as far as passive parks, pickleball, whatever we want to do, that's all still on the table. So there's obviously a need to get that message back out to the community, because not everyone is as informed as you are and as close and can come to the meetings. So if we can communicate that a little bit better and say, hey, these are still open meetings, we're still discussing it. We had kind of phase 1, we hashed out where we are. we settled with, hey, we got a dog park right now, we're moving forward on that. This is the other thing that we're moving forward as a priority. And then, be able to hear some of those other voices. I know there's been some ideas in regards to, there was a question in regards to liability with doing a skate park itself. But what if you did some skate-type stunt areas along a walkway sort of thing, where if someone wanted to kind of use that, they'd be able to. So it's definitely still an ongoing conversation. I mean, as I
Totally. Still, yeah, that's why, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
The only thing that has ever been voted on by the board is the dog park, and that was it.
Yeah, but I've been standing here at this podium for a year and a half, and now we're finally getting to do, and I just...
It wasn't because of you, I can promise you that. Don't get everything... Yeah, I guarantee it wasn't, because we were doing this for a long time before you showed up. We've been investigating a dog park for a very long time. We didn't get land from the Disney company until last year.
Right.
We didn't, until November, we own no land, so it was all fake. So this group here...
Concept.
Yeah, it's concept. And this group here, by the way, is not a representative group of really all celebration, just because you stand up here and talk. Now, when we did this, we talked about pickleball. If you would have showed up to Steve's office and said, I want pickleball, he would have figured out a way to get pickleball. But just because people say, we went through a meeting and said, there's pickleball, and by the way, none of us ever heard of pickleball before that meeting, and if somebody else would have said, I want to do pickleball, we would have said, God, let's rent some stuff, we talked about it, but nobody cared after that. So the squeaky wheel, in some ways, gets some grease. You know how baseball started? Was a bunch of people started Little League Baseball in town. They figured out they did baseball. That's how soccer started, that's how lacrosse started, and that's how the bridge group started. So they came and said, I want to do bridge. And Steve said, here's a room, they do bridge. That was Pat probably back then. But group of people are interested in doing stuff, they'll figure it out and they'll do it. If you want to play basketball over there and figure out how to play indoor basketball, or the other day I saw people at in East Village and the field that you said nobody plays on because of the cost, but they were playing softball, and I live right by it, so I know. And by the way, I don't love the idea that lacrosse is there the whole time, but I don't mind the goals. But they were playing softball, and it was an adult softball group that started up, and now I think they're going to start doing a lot more adult softball, and that's a thing that we have to do as residents. There has to be a need by showing need to town hall. Sometimes we can't lead all the time. Sometimes we need to be, as residents, we need to say, there is a need for it, let's show a need. So when we get to pickleball, I still don't know anybody that plays pickleball, but it looks like we're going to buy some temporary pickleball. Steve will probably set up a thing at North Village to do pickleball, and hopefully people will show up. If we build it, they'll come. It's not going to cost us a whole lot, but I do believe a lot of the stuff that you're saying in terms of sports stuff is fine. It's not fine in this town. There's tons of people that weren't able to play because there weren't enough space to play for organized sport, because lacrosse took over East Village. I live at East Village. They have nowhere else to play. Soccer, nowhere else to play. Football, nowhere else to play. So I do disagree with you completely, but the fact is, and it's only going to get worse. So we have a lot of green space, and a lot of green space is being taken over by organized sports. So if we actually move some people over, there'll be a domino effect. So I think that's a big thing. So I think that's something we need to investigate. But when it comes to some of those things like you're talking about pickleball, or the board's not listening, we can't do everything. Some of it's run by residents. Residents started a lot of stuff. So I say to you, or the dog park, and that's how we got it started, was residents were interested in the dog park. It's snowballed. We showed a lot of interest. We did a lot of stuff. And if you're interested in pickleball, I mean...
I'm not interested.
Well, somebody needs to be.
Wait. Last night...
Why are we talking about it?
Last night we appointed you as a commissioner.
Skateboard person, I like that better.
But I think if you talk with Steve, I think it wouldn't. It's a couple $100 to buy 2 sets of pickleball things.
You could probably
You put them in,
the money from
and let me tell you, the North Village Pavilion would be the ideal place for the seniors to be playing.
Let's talk about basketball. I mean, because basketball...
You can't dunk.
What?
I said you can't dunk.
How do you know? I grew up in Brooklyn. I mean, what do you think I was doing
I was born in Brooklyn
years?
too.
That's right.
You know, that's an interesting thing, but...
Just because I'm short, now you're picking on me.
No, everybody did talk about the fields adjacent to it, the school fields. It would be ideal if we could put a basketball court over there where those tennis courts are. But right now, the school's projects are on hold. We can't tell what they're going to do. And until they make a decision whether they're going to expand the school, whether they're going to build another school, whatever, we can't put our master plan in place that we'd like to see over there, which would involve a couple of baseball fields, a basketball field, and possibly building a multi-purpose area for us just north of the A51 building.
My point is that everybody involved in this, in the planning and the people who listen, I think Vanessa said it. We can't just give it to the people who yell the loudest. And, at the moment, I think that the grass field people are very organized and yell very loud. But there's other people who are speaking more softly, and they need to be listened to.
I would actually disagree with that, because first of all, if we wanted to have 300 people here for baseball and soccer and football show up this meeting, they haven't. You've been the one talking to say that. We have not had them show up and say the fields aren't good enough, because at the end of the day we know every day that we have a school use agreement that doesn't work with the school. We can't put basketball court where you're talking about because the school locks up there at 5 o'clock. We're not allowed on that property until 5 o'clock every day.
But you could put eventually a basketball court or a hardcore multi-purpose, same kind of multi-purpose hardcore with numerous nets on the civic
court. Sure, we can the civic court, but not at school.
Yeah. And things change. I mean, how we acquired the civic corridor was this room, and Pat can tell you she was here, and they expanded that through that room, was filled with church members demanding space to build a church. And that's why Disney gave us the civic corridor originally, was for that church to be built and some other things. Well, now it's a dog park, and things change, always evolving, so absolutely everyone has voice, continue to participate. CROA elections are next year, you can run for that. Everyone should be heard, absolutely, and I think everyone is heard. It's just always the perception of how well they're heard does vary, so you just keep trying. If you find a passion or love for something, then pursue it.
But I am really just talking about the people who did take the time to come to your workshops. A lot of celebrators were there. I don't think the task force has anybody on it that specifically represents the 50 to 90-year-olds.
Oh, no, that's not true. My husband's on it, Jeff's on it. You'd be surprised.
And I might look young, but the fact is...
Eileen, at the workshop yesterday...
Over 50 than under 50.
At the workshop yesterday, Steve...
I wasn't here. I was having my baby.
I know, but you missed an awful lot, because Steve gave a very detailed presentation. We started off with how much money we have, what our future funding will be, and then he went into a PowerPoint presentation that discussed the green dot, red dot thing that we did, overlaid that with a survey, and then we looked at the costs of various things, our estimates, and we said, what can we do and get the most bang for our buck? Now, we discussed every single area, not just the civic corridor, because the master plan is not the civic corridor. The master plan is addressing amenities in every village.
That's right.
Okay? And there's a lot of things that I'd love to see done. I'd like to see the Heritage Hall expanded, give us more room and stuff like that. But we've got to take a look and see what we can prioritize our money with. And that's what that the task force is going to do, is say, hey, this is our income coming in here, this is what things are going to cost, this is what we can do, and give the community the best results for the money.
And this was started a long time ago, by the way. So this was when you talked about Disney. I represented the community in front of the county. And talked about the civic corridor and said the homeowner association agrees, instead of building a road, we'll have a civic corridor. And I can tell you, by the way, the pictures of what was on there were baseball fields at the time, actually, that we gave to the county, and a church at the end, I think was also it. But that was literally, I represented the homeowner association in front of the county and said that. So I think at some point, I mean, we have done a lot of talking about it, and now there's going to be some movement. And the first movement we're going to have is actually a dog park, not because of any, there's a lot of, one of the reasons happens because of good luck, because the CDD happens to be building a road. So we could be doing something completely different. We could be building a splash pad, or we could be fixing a trail, or we could be doing, improving Heritage Hall. But the fact is, we're building the dog park for a couple reasons. First, there's a need. And second of all, there's a road going to nowhere. So it helps us, infrastructure's already going there. So this is a huge plan, and it's not a civic corridor plan. This is a improvement for the whole community, and one day when we actually get Island Village, we'll be included in that. Right. This is a 5, 10-year, 15-year plan, and we're lucky enough that we have some funding source that we didn't have before. So we've been, I think, our job at the CROA board, I think we've been in a very good job doing what we've been doing, and we should probably, the community should be saying, instead of I mean, every little thing, nobody's going to be happy at the end for everything, but let's hope the dog park is something we like. Let's hope we get what we need. Let's hope that down the road we can improve the school field. Let's hope East Village and there's lots of things. We talked about, you weren't there, we talked about picnic tables and we talked about grills more than we talked about fields, to be quite honest, yesterday. So, and roads going through, and really pathways. So I think there's a lot of things that if there's a need, what we don't want to do is pit one group against each other, because at the end of the day is we're all residents and there's a need for everybody. A lot of people that are sitting up here have grandparents, have parents living in town, have kids in town. It's multi-generational, and that's something we have to keep here. So it has to be something for everybody. So
I think too, like they mentioned, there's the next date for the Master Recreation Plan Workshop is
July 21st at 4 o'clock.
July 21st at 4 o'clock, which there's a joint meeting, same building, so stay on for that. And then
6:30.
At 6:30. And then there's also going to be in the future, obviously this is not just a 2-meeting kind of operation. So beyond that, there'll be additional meetings and hopefully varying at different times to accommodate different people's schedules.
Still, I just would like to finish by reiterating again that I'm not sure that over the same thing that I said yesterday, that the last year and a half, talking about the dog park, was difficult, frustrating, and certainly felt that the board did not want to hear what a lot of people wanted to say, which was the only logical place. And I'm just using this as an example. What's in the past is in the past, and I'm happy it's going ahead. But as one of the people, and not the only person who was very involved in this, it was a long, difficult road. And I just don't feel that if somebody has an idea, and I think we're all on the same page here, if somebody has an idea, or if somebody, like Erica, if people feel strongly that their neighborhood park should, doesn't mean kids can't play on it, but the equipment should go away when it's done, and it shouldn't be every day, it should be somewhat limited, they shouldn't have to give up completely their precious neighborhood park, that they need also to be listened to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Any other resident owners' comment?
keep it to 2
Yes,
minutes.
sir.
Hi, Andrew Barnes, 1366 Ponce.
Welcome.
From the Spring Lake subdivision. So my comments are related to that item, item number 2. Regarding the roofs and a couple of other items, including porches and shutters and railings and balconies. I just wanted to reiterate what was said before, that the sales office and the warranty representatives and the builders, all 3 groups, have told all of the owners up until this point that anything from the studs out, so basically the exterior of the building and the exterior of the property for the townhomes, would be taken care of by the association. That would be consistent with every other townhouse association, and thank you to everyone who put together that matrix. That was really helpful in telling what other communities had in comparison to us, and it really highlighted the fact that ours was the only one where there were specific exclusions to the financial burden for the association. And as I looked around, I realized that the metal roofs that were specifically excluded from the roofing coverage, those were a design factor that presumably was decided upon by the architectural committee, and not really a choice by any of the owners. So if you have a townhome, and specifically if you have a villa, which is included in the townhomes, you don't have a choice as to whether or not you get a metal roof. So to say that that's specifically excluded, I don't think that is something that's consistent with the rest of the community, and I think that's something that that the board should consider as something that should be looked at, realizing that the documents that were there in place when sales started are actually the same as what they are listed right now. But I think that that's something that should be reviewed, and I don't know what, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what actual recourse anybody would have as to that.
Well, let me ask Lori, I guess. You might know. So we've heard this twice, and I almost like, okay, you know. Yeah, I think. So I think. Do we have any choice in this? I think at the end of the day is. When you said Architecture Review Committee, first, my guess is Architecture Review Committee had nothing to do with this because they have nothing to do with new construction at all. Do you know what I mean? So this might be David Weekley all. And what happens is they hand us something, when it gets handed over by the developer, we get handed whatever it is and the I don't really know, so I'm asking.
Documents were written and recorded. What I might suggest is we're still in the developer stage. Let's go back and talk to David Weekley and see if maybe this can be resolved. I mean, we're in the early stages of the community.
So, okay, maybe layman, because I'm not sure I completely understand. Can you kind of make me understand this a little bit? So David Weekley, is this something that's not consistent with other?
Their documents are different from the other service areas and the way they wrote them. They specifically broke out some areas that the association would take care of the repair, but the specific expense.
And is this a negotiation, or they just hand us stuff and we have?
No, this is as the documents were written, recorded when you purchase your home.
But we have no say. Well, the association.
But what I'm saying is, let's reach out to David Weekley. Let's talk to David Weekley and see what. You know, it's early enough. If the documents can be changed, then it's a simple thing of where, you know, if they change the documents and it does become a service area responsibility.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you're all going to fund it anyway, but right, I get it. Okay.
My concern is.
Do they have representatives for?
Not yet. It's still developer.
But I think.
I mean, for the association, for their.
No, they don't.
All right. Well, Lori, after they're all built out, though, they can get their association to vote to accept that.
They could, but, you know, my question is, if we go back to David Weekley, would David...
That would be the best thing to do is get it to start right now.
So any group, like Lake Evelyn, for instance, Pat used to all say this all the time, if they wanted to get together and say they want to have one company to cut grass, they could vote and actually, you know, have one company cut the grass, and, you know, and we do that. So what Jack is saying, if this doesn't work, you know, you guys as a group can come and say, we want the association to take care of it and make it part of our...
Well, it'd be a vote of your service area.
Service area. It would be a service area.
If David Weekley didn't take care of it, then once it had...
we could do that.
David Weekley was gone, then you could do that. But let's say if we can take care of it now.
Yeah,
so I think staff is going to talk to David Weekley and kind of we listen to what you said and maybe see if we can do something.
And I think at bare minimum, we can just have some education.
Yes.
To make sure that their sales office is communicating it to new buyers and everything correctly. So you're kind of the voice of reason for new people moving in.
Yeah, so my concern, and I think several other people share this opinion, is that, you know, our concern is for resale value. If you're comparing one area versus the other, you're going to choose something where everything's covered versus where you have to pay for things out of pocket, you know, 10 years down the road.
Absolutely.
Sure. I think we understand that.
And the service area is a separate entity from David Weekley, based out of Texas. So
you should give him a call.
So I don't know how much. I don't know if David Weekley actually controls that, or if they're indeed separate.
They still.
I got him on the phone. Believe me.
But like I said, we can sit down with them. We can have some conversation and see what we can do.
Okay.
So, can you make sure that your contact info is on the sign-in sheet?
Yes, it is.
And you as well, and that way we'll be able to get that.
All right. And as this is my first time, I want to thank everybody on the board for listening to owners. I really appreciate that. Being in the community.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
For better or worse. We take compliments, too. No, we don't. I take that back. We do.
Next.
Yes, ma'am.
TJ?
Poor Ned's all wet.
Oh, wow, it's pretty bad also.
I'm PJ Cartwright and I live in Siena. I'm actually speaking to the board because I know you all are aware of this, as well as staff, about the I-4 connector, Point Center Parkway connector issue. But I'm speaking to you tonight because it's going out to everyone in the community. About a decade ago, I was part of a group of Osceola County residents that was charged with the task of brainstorming how are we going to handle growth in the year 2025 and 2050. And out of that meeting came a need for a connection from those people who live in the Poinciana area to connect to I-4. At the time, it was a consensus of the group that the Osceola Polk County Line Road be the connecting factor, mainly because that thoroughfare was shared by 2 counties. The land was already existed. It was 4-laned in divided highway in some portions. There was no reunion at that time. There were very few residential parcels that would be affected, and that was going to be one of the most cost-effective. As we all know, in the last 30 to 60 days, that public meeting was held in Davenport, and DOT came out and said, we're going to recommend that the 2 options that most directly affect Celebration, we're going to recommend that they not be considered. We're all aware of that. However, the deadline for, even though they said, oh, we want all the public comments by the 15th of June, that's not exactly true. The public meeting for this will not be held until October of next year. And irrespective of how any governmental authority or large business entity may desire to place that road in a certain spot, it behooves anyone who has an opinion to write to the DOT. For as many people who live in Celebration and don't want to see the connection made at World Drive, I can assure you there are that many more people who live in Polk County and or Reunion who don't want to see it there either. And in the last week, I have received a communication from DOT that they are being flooded with people from that area wanting those options that we prefer not to be considered. So my advice to anyone who lives in Celebration would be go to the website, I4PoincianaParkwayConnector.com, read the material, specifically on the left-hand side you'll see drawings or reports or whatever, and it's very clear what the options available to the state are, and you can make yourself known. As I said, we need to keep the pressure on, because if we don't, we have no one to blame but ourselves should the road be connected to I-4 because we sat silently by and thought our neighbors would do the job for us. Thank you.
PJ. When's the next public meeting? I know the letters are being sent, but when's the next public meeting that people could attend? Do you know?
It's already been held.
I know it's been held, but is there not another one till October?
No, the public hearing will be in October of next year.
So just keep the letters coming.
Yeah, PJ, I know Vanessa and I both went down that meeting. Erica presented a very good discussion, and I would ask you to get together with her and start another thread with your same material again. And then let's get together with the celebrators and all the other people and force feed them to it, to do this stuff.
We did discuss it at the last celebrators meeting, and I had another meeting that night and I couldn't attend. Steve was nice enough to bring the comment sheets and gave me one, and I made 25 copies and I went down to Kissimmee. Remember, anyone who lives in the state of Florida has the right to have an opinion on this because they are state funds being used. State funds, of course, will mean federal funds because they will get, impact funds. But if you know anyone in the state of Florida, I mean, my simple thing is, okay, this road's 5 miles, this road's 10, which do you think is going to be cheaper to build? I mean, it's my tax dollar. I mean, it doesn't matter where, it's logic at this point. And so people who live outside of our area certainly have a right to ask our DOT, Department of Transportation, how they're spending our money. It's our tax money.
Steve, can we put this in the newspaper?
Sure, we can post something. I know we had the article before, so we can put the link.
I know we had it on the front porch, too.
Yep.
And Erica, if you can repost that thread,
It was included in the Friday Flash.
It was.
And I think there are a lot of people in Celebration who have commented, but when I received a communique this week, it was just someone that I know that happened to say, we're getting a lot of feedback from reunions. They don't want it. I'm sure they don't.
I think there's an email you can email too, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
you
where
can
the
email
website would take
Amy
you.
or directly, and
But maybe we could be a little proactive, like certainly companies like Uber and other stuff, whenever they solicit, you click this button that already says, "Dear Congressman, I want Uber to succeed and and make that kind of stuff." And maybe we should put make it easy for our residents.
Yeah, and our state legislators and our county representatives, really, while they are monitoring it, they don't really have a voice.
Yeah.
The voice here is DOT. The DOT is going to make the decision, and that's everybody's tax dollars.
Yeah, but we can make it
so
easy
I
for
would just
residents
encourage
and-
everyone not to think that, it's too late to comment. It's never too late to comment.
Is it possible for us to publish two things, some talking points? Because, I wrote, but I wasn't exactly sure what I should write. What are the important issues that and, is it good to say, go there, or are we just saying, I need a little guidance exactly what's...
So for those at home, Eileen had commented that from the audience that if we could have some talking points in order to be able to give a little bit more of an educated discussion in regards to things. I think that we can look PJ to you and obviously to Erica to maybe get a couple of these ideas. I know that the Arts and Park Service area had put together some information as well. Getting that stuff together, getting it in kind of one spot. We have to be careful because we want to make sure that we provide everyone the middle of the road kind of thing, but obviously we can give them how it would impact the community. And maybe put that in one spot that we can include in some communications.
Eric, in the DOT's presentation, though, they actually addressed every single, the upsides, downsides, and costs.
Right.
And all you have to do is repeat all that in that same text there. That you don't like that
the
thing.
end of that, on that website, the one in the very last, I think it's the last chart,
Right.
is a great Excel spreadsheet,
Right.
and it tells you how many acres of the environmental impact, how many people, residential and commercial parcels are going to be affected, how many miles, the cost. I mean, it's an extremely thorough thing, and I wouldn't presume to say my opinion is but I think it's very easy to follow, and you can figure out what is the most important thing to you. But I would just encourage anyone, if you know anyone else in the state of Florida, it's state DOT money, it's state taxes that are paying for this, and they have the right just as well as those of us here. It's easy to say we're in Celebration, we don't want it here, and the people in Reunion say, well, we don't want it there. But other people throughout the state have the right to make it.
But if you think about if we somehow made it easy, put it on the Facebook page for Celebration. I shared it, right? I shared it to my friend. So everybody in Celebration sees that. So if everybody clicks on it from their Facebook page, right? From their Facebook feed, clicks on it, I mean, we get 60, 70, 80, 200, 300, 10,000 people because all our friends everywhere. Click on the button, do something. I mean, if we want to actually do something, we should try to go out of our way to make it happen.
Absolutely. I mean, if we just pick one little thing like this is shorter, therefore it should be cheaper, and just, you don't have to, anybody in the state would want that.
Quick question for you. If I'm recalling things correctly, the two options, 1 and 2B, were also the most expensive options. Is that correct? Based
They were
upon
two of the
what they
four
were
more expensive
Right,
options.
that's what I thought. So even people outside of Celebration that are wanting to be cost effective, the two options into Celebration would be the most expensive.
Right. I mean, so regardless of where you live in the state of Florida, if you have a passion for environmentalists, if you're an environmentalist, then I encourage you to do that, because it's going to have a lesser effect on green space. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Eric, it's on the mic.
They can't hear you. Yeah.
Some other thing about this, that tomorrow night, Mike Hartford is actually going to be at the Democrats meeting here, so if people want to come and perhaps bend his ear a little bit about this, I don't know if it'll help, but it probably could encourage.
I've read the
It does help. I think at the end of the day, the influence of any one of our representatives makes a big difference.
So anyway, he's
Yeah.
going to be here tomorrow night.
Sorry, I'm stealing these.
Also get a list.
I stole one.
Yep, so Eileen wanted to know if we could get a list of residents, or excuse me, a list of people that we could contact in regards to the Pointy and the Connector project. And I think that we can get some of that stuff together and get in communication.
And that was in the last communication I went out. There was 3 different email addresses, so we can look at that and come up with a way to make it, like Lee said, easy for people to connect right to them and send an email.
Any other resident comments? All right, I will go ahead and verify the meeting was properly noticed. People are here, so I'm assuming it was.
It was, yes.
We definitely have a quorum here, so we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda, but I'd like to move action item number 11 in front of action item number 1, since we have some people here in the audience that are waiting for that one. Can I get a second on that one? Second. All right. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and do I have a motion to adopt the minutes of the previous board meeting?
So move.
All right, and second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, committee reports.
We do not have a representative tonight for the ARC committee.
All righty.
But we do for the Parks and Recreation.
And we have
Parks and Rec.
President Vaughn for Covenant.
We'll go with Parks and Rec first, since I already said it.
Parks and Rec met in June. We had a meeting since we last reported to you, but we haven't had any special events. And we have some new members on the committee, Melody Niemitz, Cindy Swisher, and Eileen Barr. And we're excited. We get a little crazy. We get a little creative. Your minutes of the meeting are attached to the notes, so I won't go through everything. Anyone, of course, in the community can now read that and see what we've done. But we have gone, we talked about the dog park, and that's an 8-year project for this committee. This committee has been talking about it for 8 years, and so we're getting down to some finite details now. And we are going to have an entry in the parade, the 4th of July parade. And we're going to have a float, and it's going to be a wag-on. And my husband's going to drive the car. I was going to do him makeup like a basset hound. He said he didn't want to be a basset hound. I suggested a Shar-Pei because he already has the wrinkles, but he didn't want that either. So we haven't figured that part out. But we are looking forward to having a float in the parade, and we are extending an invitation to everyone in Celebration who has a dog to come and join us and follow along behind the float as we move slowly along the parade route, so that we can highlight all the dogs in the community. And of course, it's going to express our excitement at the upcoming dog park, to be named later. We talked about something that was new to everyone on the committee, and that's geocaching, which I didn't know anything about, but apparently we have a whole bunch of geocachers worldwide that are finding boxes in Celebration, so we're following up on that. We don't really have anything else.
What is it? What is a geocacher?
It's sort of like...
Oh, Erica's got her hand in it.
It's sort of like a little security box with things in it people put in. Yeah, it's sort of like a scavenger hunt for hikers and outdoorsmen. Yeah, but people from worldwide.
Okay, I am familiar with it.
There is here.
Heard of it as a geo hunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
you.
And let's see. Oh, we had an inquiry from one of our residents, and we discussed the possibility of having adult-only times at the pools, or a pool, a couple times a week. We all love children, but I had mine, I raised mine, I just would like no quiet time. So I personally like that, but I wasn't the one who suggested it. We talked about Founder's Day and perhaps putting up some more of our tents at the picnic at Founder's Day, because we only have so many tables and chairs, but we want to increase the get to know your neighbor aspect of the town picnic, and it's usually very warm at Founder's Day, and so, people have a tendency, me included, to eat and then leave because it's so hot. But if we had a tent or two that we could go and sit under, bring our own chair and talk with our neighbor, we talked about doing that. We suggested a caterer for the Founder's Day picnic. We talked about our Food Truck Fridays, and last year we tried to do themes, and because the board has asked the committee to do focus groups by age group, we are meeting again in July before the July Food Truck Friday, and we want to see if we can't enable some of the table space at Food Truck Friday in July to accomplish that goal. And
did you want to announce what the Friday food truck?
Pardon?
The theme for Fridays?
We had themes last year, and
this July they're doing the fire.
We're doing the fire appreciation day for firefighters and law enforcement. And we're looking at more volunteer record keeping and volunteer communications. So anyone who would like to participate, Parks and Rec at the present time meets at 5 o'clock here at Town Hall on the second Wednesday of the month. And we'd enjoy to have more people come and participate. Yes, Lee.
So when you mean firefighter and police appreciation, does that mean they get discount? What are we talking about?
I think they get 10%.
Is it first responder? I mean, I remember last year.
Yeah.
We did something last year, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I think I remember talking to, because we did have some show up. Some didn't even know about it. So I think that probably the process of letting them know, because apparently the groups here can send that out to other locations, and I think that was one suggestion last year. So that if we let them know that there's some sort of coordination, that they can pass that to us. That was some suggestion from them.
We also got into a discussion, and we sort of took over communications committee, even though they weren't there.
Yeah.
And we sort of talked about some of the ways that we can increase communication, and we discussed the possibility of having specific articles in the newspaper, in Celebration News, sort of like, when I go to church on Sunday, I get a little slip of paper and says, can you help this week? 1, this, 2, this. So we're going to do that. We're talking about having specific ways that our residents in the community can serve the community specifically. Maybe not long-term for a whole year commitment to serve on a committee or on a board, but just a one shot. I've got time this week. What can I do in the community? And so we're going to try and work maybe 2 months out, 3 months out, and do that so that we can encourage other people in the community to participate, because get to know the neighbors. And I will tell you that we discussed porches and lemonades, or lights and lemonades. And I know that someone in East Village, I read on the forum.
Lake Evelyn did it too.
Yeah, that has picked that up. And so that is something that the committee has thought about before, and we're continuing to think about.
If you saw the invitation.
The invitation's really quite cute.
Yes.
So you can find that on the front porch.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks.
I think we got one. We have on.
Covenants, yeah.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, sir.
I'm Vaughn Roberts, one of the new members on Covenants, and along with Karen Ross. We've been attending meetings now for 2 months, and Tim Swisher is rejoined the committee, and he'll be back starting July, at our July meeting, which will be reset to a different date because of the holiday coming up in July, so it's rescheduled for July 8th at 6 p.m. here. Last month, about 144 letters went out, Stage 1 and Stage 2 letters. In June, we reviewed, it was pretty busy in June, we reviewed 23 properties regarding fines. We have some lingering 2014 green up cleanup issues still going on, and the meetings have, the attendance of the meetings have been increased by residents, and they are, we're trying to get those resolved as, as equitably as we can. But that's all I got. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Vaughn.
All righty. Financial report. That's you, Lori.
Okay,
Unless Steve wants to steal the thunder.
that's
All right.
There's enough thunder out there.
We'll be going back and forth.
All right.
So we have a different format for the financial report as part of the new formatted management report.
Which is available for residents to see online.
Yes, we posted it for everybody to see. So just as a brief summary, again, this is as of May 31st, unaudited. And our operating cash as of May 31st is $2,151,677.64. Our income in May came in over budget by $1,247. And that's basically because we had working capital income, delinquency, interest, late fees. Our working capital income for the month of May was $32,810.40, and that exceeded budget by $4,557. Our working capital income year-to-date is $177,522.49. That also exceeds budget by $38,079. Our legal fee income is over budget by $7,900, but effectively it becomes a wash because that's charges that are also posted to owners' accounts, and we pay the attorney and then they reimburse us. Delinquency interest is over income by $2,288. Aquatics income is over by $1,822. We're in the summer months. We're seeing more activity with swimming lessons. Our junior lifeguard program brings in a significant amount of income. Our May expenses were $341,776.75, which are actually under budget by $19,870.25. And basically, when you look at your financials, we're under budget in all of the categories except for admin expenses, and that was basically related to legal expenses and professional fees. So we're really right on target for the year, and we will in the next month, I believe, be getting with the board and doing a mid-year financial review, so you'll have a much clearer picture. As of May 31st, our accounts receivables are $1,059,083.24. That is actually less than the prior month, and again, that's due. We're in that cycle where our second quarter assessments were paid. We'll see that go up again next month because then we'll see the billings for third quarter. In reserves, our reserve fund total is $2,618,945.47. Our working capital at this point is $1,016,972.75. And our contingency reserves are $357,263.75. So you're looking good.
Any questions on the financial report? All right. This one says Steve and Lori for the management.
We're doing a tag.
We'll go back and forth.
All right, go back.
See how this works.
All right.
Modify. I'll start with technology update then. The Comcast agreement is nearing its final stages. Amy's escalated the conversation with somebody else in Comcast to determine how are the condo associations that replied back to our initial email and letter on how we can try and work them into the agreement. They're trying to finalize how that language looks in the overall agreement. And it's taken a little bit of back and forth to hash that out. So she's in the final stages of that conversation. And we actually should have some information back by the end of this week. For the transition to CCMC server, we are going to have our official migration starting Sunday night while we're all asleep. The two systems will be talking to each other, and all of our email migration will be taking place overnight, and then a lot of migration testing going on that week to make sure that everything's stable where it should be. So by the end of this week, going into next week, we should be secured with that. And then the next stage of that project is to, and this is more of an internal operations thing, but it's to get our SharePoint site up and running for us to have a better way for filing internally for the office. We have PayPal now up and running for summer camp, and PayPal will go until probably middle of August as we work to transition RecPro into place. And we'll talk a little bit more about RecPro and the communication side, but we've already started with entering in a lot of the database information and defining the user types and the facility types and those types of things. So we're excited about the capabilities of RecPro and the ability to do the online calendar. We're moving in that direction. Going on to the Civic Corridor, if you've been out there, you can see the utility lines have been dropped in. There's some holes with some pipes sticking out of the ground, all the utility work's going in down the corridor. And part of that was to put some stub outs to the dog park. So that's taken place. Conceptual designs that were submitted are being turned into illustrated conceptual designs, so a lot more color, a lot more detail to them. And those should be back within the next week also, so that we can start getting that out there. And then hopefully we can, at the July meeting, agree on a final conceptual design so that they can start getting some real numbers back to us. And then the next step after that is to look at the preliminary construction schedule and then get you to vote on approving a certain amount and starting the actual build on that.
And I think, just Steve, a couple of important things to note there. One of the reasons why we're moving forward with some of the utility things right now is that we have been able to work together with the CDD on getting, the roads being dug up already now anyway. So let's only dig once and let's try to have a little bit of a cost savings with only having to do it at one time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but once we get the illustrative drawings back from the architect, those will be shared with the community so that we can, people will get their pictures rather than seeing kind of a bunch of concepts, right?
Right. Yeah, we will have both of those available to share. And we'll get feedback and we'll come back and share with you the data that we've received, and then we can go from there on what the selection will be. It's going to be one of the two designs.
Perfect.
And there was some considerable savings by doing the stub outs now, so there was collaboration with the CDD to be able to do that. And then I'm going to turn over to Laura to talk about service areas.
In your report, again, we've tried a new format. What Teresa has actually done is she has listed every service area separately, and she's given you a summary of what the focus has been in each of those service areas. She's really establishing a good rapport with the individuals in each of those service areas. I think they're very comfortable with knowing they can reach out to her, and she goes out and she meets with them and helps work them through situations. There's been a real focus. She's going out in a number of service areas. We're looking at the landscaping, and we're actually starting to build our numbers for the 2016 budget. We know what we've accounted for this year. We know what's available for reserve funding in 2015. And then as she's seeing those areas that perhaps could be tweaked or we need to do some additions, she's already working with Davey and getting cost estimates. So I think that that's a real good approach for her. Our big focus, of course, continues to be Academy Row and Meeting House Green and the roof replacements. Since the last meeting, we did have another engineer go up on the actual roofs, looked at the same chimneys. I hesitate to say anything. I think we will have a favorable report. We expect the report tomorrow. It's been delayed because he requested to see the actual original drawings for the roofs and the chimneys, and it took Todd about 3 weeks to get those plans back from the county. So as soon as I get that report, I will email it to you all immediately. Once we get verification as to whether or not we can continue with the roofs, keep the chimneys in place, you've already approved the expense to replace the chimney caps, we'll move forward in that direction. If in fact we find out that we need to do work on the chimneys, then we'll have to get more specific drawings that may take a little bit more time. And of course, you've already approved the expense if we're just going to remove the chimneys. But again, as soon as I get that, we will go ahead and give you the update. We are moving forward. Todd's working with the county. He's gotten the approval for the county for the traffic control there on campus. We did have a meeting scheduled with the residents for last week, and we delayed it. We did not want to have to stand there and meet with them and say, well, we're not sure yet. We just felt it was best to go ahead and give them all the information at one time. But we're very, very close to starting, and I'm just anxious to see the first shingles get ripped off those roofs.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
Exactly. So, but I think you can see, looking at the report, that our service area group has been very busy. Todd also has been out in the community looking at all the parks, working with Davey. He's shown some pictures in the report of some work that's been done and some action items that are actually listed tonight. So we hope that you like this idea of actually giving you photos and giving you more detailed information. And this was our first attempt. Steve's put a lot of time into it, and we'll continue to tweak it. So
I think the whole
love it.
board packet was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you guys put it together, including this, of course. The KPIs in there, the network stuff, the email, I mean, it seemed to be...
And I would encourage, I know, a lot of residents had asked for this, type of information to be exposed to them, and then kind of once we exposed it to a lot of people, they said, what the heck is this, and they said, welcome to our world. And so now it's in a much easier to read format. It's kind of the key points right at the top of it, and Steve and Lori, good job on that. And I'll say that even with your boss in the room, with that. And it's definitely something that's easier for myself to read, but I think it's also easier for residents to be able to follow as well. So I think it's good. The one question that I did have was in regards to maintenance. I did note that there was, we did have an issue with Toho water that was addressed in the report, and I do know that there are some areas of turf that are pretty distressed. And I assume that we'll just continue to monitor those?
exactly.
Okay.
Yes, and I talked to Todd. He's meeting with Davey. They're continuing to look at what areas can be salvaged by doing more watering where we can, and some of it may have to be replaced. So we're looking into what that's going to be. But thank you for the rain tonight. This is very helpful for a very dry community right now.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Sure. We do have a couple more minutes on the rest of the report.
Oh, sorry. Go
The
ahead.
show continues.
Yes, but we'll go quickly. The Parks and Recreation Lifestyle section, I want to thank Martin, JR, and the summer camp counselors up to this point. They're doing a great job with the summer breakout program. Can you believe we've already gone through 2 weeks and we're on our third week of summer camp? So the summer's flying by. They had 56 registrations the first week and 47 in week 2. So they continue to do a great job, and there's some pictures of the kids having fun within your board packet. I did want to comment on Food Truck Friday for July. It's a little bit different this year. It's going to be the Community Service Night, celebrating Community Service Night, where Martin and JR have reached out to the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department, and they're going to bring some of their equipment out here. It's going to be a touch of truck type night where they're going to be a fire truck and some police equipment, so it'll be pretty cool. And then we'll also be promoting public stuff, Selly Service app, the mobile app for the community. And we'll have information, we'll have the ability to have staff here to help you sign up for it. So we'll have a lot more information on that to come.
That'll be on the 10th of July?
It is going to be on July, it's the second Friday of the 10th, yes.
That's it.
Certainly Food Truck Friday seems to be the get-together for residents. Have we thought about more tables? It looked at kind of more seating and that kind of stuff, and seating on the other side. I think we need more.
I think they continue to monitor it, and one of the things we saw this past month was people were bringing their own tables and setting up their own little dining and picnicking areas. So, why not?
We've always gotten a seat, and we come at various times, and
Sure.
I'm there. It's pretty busy. It's pretty busy.
Well, I can talk to Martin and JR and see if there's any opportunities to expand and what we have available to do that.
It's a great event.
The memorial flag ceremony, we had lots of different groups represented. I hope I don't miss any, but the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Cub Scout troops, they were all part of the flag ceremony, which was really nice. The community choir did their singing, and then the Celebrations Veterans Club. So we estimated approximately 170 people attended the ceremony. Very warm day, but it was a wonderful ceremony. So we thank everybody that came out
And the Garden
observed
Club
that.
for their
And the
wreaths.
Garden
Yes.
Club also.
Yes.
Did you guys, there was a, I know it's a new flag, did you guys flag that? Or-
We replace that twice a year. We always do.
It's a reserve.
Memorial Day and Veterans
It's
Day.
just part of an operating expense, so we
operating
just budget for it.
That was nice. to see
Yeah.
the new flag call.
It's in my first year. It's one of my favorite ceremonies, the Memorial Day and the Veterans Day. It's a really nice ceremony. And then for 4th of July, we do have our dreams come true under the red, white, and blue, and there's still opportunity for any groups that want to enter the parade. They can submit their application to Martin and JR.
And if they want to submit an application, is it available online, or do they come down to the 851 building, or how does that work for them?
I think it's available online and here at 851. And we have invited the summer breakout kids again to march in the parade. So, and we're really excited to see what are we calling this? Bringing your
Wag
patriotic
on.
pups
Yeah.
and join in the parade?
Yeah,
The
wag on.
yes. So that's going to be kind of fun.
And don't forget the evening has stuff too.
Yes,
right?
and then we're going to watch the fireworks. And
Fireworks and your VIP viewing area at Lakeside Park, but you must
For the
have your
residents.
CROA ID.
So bring your resident ID if you want to come into Lakeside as normal.
And you can start coming in at 6 if you want to
Six,
lay out your
okay.
blankets. and
Awesome.
get ready.
We should also mention there is the concert on the 3rd at Lakeside as well.
Concert on the
Sponsored
3rd.
by
Big,
the
big
foundation.
band. Yeah, there's a big brass band that's going to be there the 3rd. It's the same one that they
didn't
got
know.
down for the concert series.
It's in partnership with the foundation, and they're going to have a brass band.
It's on the Great Lawn?
It's on the Great Lawn, and again, free to residents. In celebration, just bring your CROA ID.
Good.
What, do you know what time it is?
No,
That's
sorry.
okay, we'll see.
It's on the form, I think.
Awesome.
For the aquatics, again, I want to thank the aquatics team and Martin, and they had in May 41 registrants for all the different aquatics classes, and in June 48 registrations. So the aquatics program's moving right along. Moving on to communication, we mentioned a little bit about public stuff. Celebration is going mobile, and we're excited about that. Residents will have the opportunity to submit work orders to us and be able to track the workflow. Also be able to receive push notifications. They'll be able to go online and view the calendar. So the mobile app will be great, and we will be unveiling it on June 29th. So we'll have a big Friday flash. There'll be a direct email. There'll be lots of different ways for us to communicate and share information on how to get public stuff.
Anyway, I was just saying is maybe it would be nice if we did it so we can kind of learn what it does and that kind of stuff ourselves.
We will. We're going to have some informational pieces during the parade. There'll be little handouts so that people can see how to get online and take a look at it. So we'll have lots of stuff that we'll be promoting.
Okay.
And then lastly, I talked about RecPro. We're looking at, if all goes the way it's supposed to, the middle of August to be able to implement the on-site RecPro, and then about a month after that to implement the online version of RecPro. So we're moving right along with RecPro also. And that is the end of our update.
Perfect. Any questions on the management report, or update rather?
Nope.
All right, we'll move on to the first action item. Once again, that we moved up the strategic planning goals. So we'll start with goal 1 with Debbie McDonald.
Vanessa and I and Leah are working together on a calendar called Celebration One. We're attempting to get everything together in one place: the schools, the foundation, town hall, Luxon, all the small organizations, the 501c3s. And the theme this year is Celebration Has Gone to the Dogs. The theme of the calendar, and every single month has a shot of a scenic area in town with a dog, either a service dog or a therapy dog or just a plain old dog, or a Dalmatian at the fire station, the canine unit dog with the police. So each month has a different dog. And I wanted to introduce one of the dogs that's joining us today, which is Mr. October. Mr. October is Sam. Sam is asleep because he's waited so long to be.
He's being very
Poor
good.
Sam.
Sam is a 13-year resident of Celebration. He is a service dog. And Leonard Tim also joins us as an 18-year resident. He is a graduate of the University of Colorado at Denver. He has a master's from the University of Denver. And Leonard also volunteered for 5 years for an organization called Segway for Vets, of which he was a founder. And if you have not had the pleasure of meeting Sam, he's going to just kind of give us a little break here for a minute.
Debbie asked me to do a trick or two. So first, You know we have a leash law, so Sarah. Yes, we do. Hold the leash. That's why. That counts, right?
It does. It does.
Good, sweetie. Sam is getting to be 13, and Bonnie knows about 40 or so hand signals. He's getting where he can't hear quite as well, so quite often I've started using hand signals more with him than verbal commands. But dogs, like humans, can always hear high pitches and low things. They lose that mid-range. People worry they can't hear humans. I'll see if we can get him to come here. And then I should be able to stop him halfway here. He can't hear what I'm saying right now because I'm going to face this way. That was his stop there. What else do you want to do? Of course, he just does all kinds of dog things. He knows about 170, 180 verbal commands.
Leonard has entertained on the past for our Posh Pooch and other things, but and Sam's just one of many talented dogs. Every dog featured on the calendar has either a gift to the community or a service or has provided. One of our dogs is a therapy dog that goes every week to give kids a world. So I think it'll bring out not only featuring our dog park, which the funds will go to, and other charities with dogs, but also tell you a little bit more about the residents or the dogs that serve our community. The cover is a recreation of our logo, town logo with the girl and the bike and the dog and the picket fence. And my husband brought the computer because we haven't been able to blow that up very big. Well, you guys can see that? You can pass it around.
I think
You'll see it on the calendar.
You'll see it on the calendar.
Recognize that dog?
Cool.
So it's Mackenzie McCarthy, provided by Evolve Bikes, which is also one of our sponsors, and the dog behind is my dog because the substitute, last minute substitute, because the dog that was scheduled was unable to show up. So anyway, we have 7 sponsors. There's a few sponsorship opportunities left, and we're going to have it come out in August. So it goes August through August to cover the school year. We have everything from the organizations from our KH to our high school to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Anyone, if you have a 501c3, please send us your meeting dates or whatever you'd like to add to the calendar. And Vanessa and I and Leah will input all that somehow in the next couple weeks. So that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Great. I have goal 2, which Steve is still in. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Stan, you should bow to them.
Oh. She wasn't looking.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I actually have goal 2, which Steve has talked about mostly with communications and technology with Vanessa and myself. And I think that the only other thing that I'll keep it short since I know it's getting late. Is that the communications committee is looking to be restarted. We had 2 members on the committee with myself as a board liaison with that, and then we unfortunately lost our kind of support at town hall. We now have new support at town hall, so he's looking to, I'm sure, get more meetings at night as he's sitting over there right now. But we are looking for some additional committee members, so if you're interested in communications, please reach out to the 851 building, as well as there's also information online in order to join the committee. So, goal 3.
That's me. Okay, we had our first meeting yesterday with the master plan task force, and it was a real good meeting. We have all the people who were in attendance. Steve presented a great PowerPoint presentation looking over the history of our surveys and our various attempts at choosing what we would like to have our options. And the consensus of the task force at this time was to first pursue the dog park, and then to bring to the board the thought of doing a splash pad at Lakeside, And then also, 3 members of the committee are going to get together with the DOT or Reedy Creek as far as using some of the right-of-way over there by 417 as far as creating a path along the civic corridor. Next meeting will be July 21st at 4 p.m., and you're all encouraged to attend. Probably we'll get a little more in depth as to what we're doing in the future, but I'd like to, this is going to be a long process, of probably about 5 to 10 year plan that we're going to be dealing with. And next month I expect to get more specifics as far as dollar figures for various plans and start looking at the trade-offs and what we can get the most bang for the buck with. So that's it.
Jack, can I add also, I've reached out to some of my Parks and Recreation friends today to ask that have just recently built splash pads to try and get some spec information. So hopefully by next month, we'll be able to have some of the things that we want to look for in a splash pad, and then some of the companies around that build them, so we can go out to RFP and get some quotes on what that would look like.
Great.
Alrighty, and then goal 5, which is Mr. Moore and myself. Lee, did you have anything?
No, nothing to add.
I do have one thing with that. So goal 5 is working on enhancing marketing communications as well as branding with the community. So as far as with logos, visual identity, that sort of thing. Once again, fortunately, we have a new staff member here that's been working diligently, and I have seen some of the sneak peek stuff on trying to get a more coordinated visual identity together, as well as a brand guide together for the community. So when we get sponsors and different people in, everything is on the same page, literally and figuratively, when it comes to visual identity for the community. So more to come on that.
And Eric, JR's been working on some consistent look and feel to our flyers, our just our marketing information. So we will, over the next month, work with Lee to try and get a meeting set up so we can start sharing that and talking about that.
Perfect. And
take it to the next step.
And jumping back to Jack with Recreation Lane, is it possible to put that presentation online somewhere for residents to see?
Sure,
or is it,
we can do that.
Okay, all right. That'd be great. Any other questions for anyone for strategic line updates?
You skipped number 4.
Yeah,
We did on purpose.
Oh, you did on
Yeah,
purpose?
no,
Okay. I didn't know the plan, I'm sorry.
No report at this time.
Okay.
So we're going to move to what used to be action item number 1, which is getting confused me, which is ratify approval of expenditure for preliminary utilities infrastructure at Civic Corridor for Dog Park Parcel. If I can get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Do you have any questions? And it's the sub-ops, it's the electricity, the water, the utilities you need for the dog park. If we do them now, we save a significant amount of money. We won't have to tear the ground back up again and put them back in.
But it's not just for the dog park either, though. It's for anything that we do in the civic corridor.
Right, the stub-outs are all going in there.
Up until that area.
Up to that, where the road ends.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approved board resolution and exhibit Alpha and Bravo 1 and Bravo 2 identifying maintenance responsibilities of the service area and owners of lots within the service areas. Tab 2 for those with paper. If I can get a motion?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right, discussion? I believe this is what...
This is about the third or fourth time they've come before the board. We did post them. We did have some individuals contact us with questions, such as, the individuals that were here this evening, and we did explain how the documents were written. Some people contacted us and said, does this mean you've rewritten everything? And we said, no, we just simply made it cleaner and easier for you. We got some very favorable comments. So we're just asking the board to go ahead and officially approve these, and then they'll be posted on the front porch.
Any further discussion on these?
I guess based on some comments we heard today, should you have without Springley? Should we do anything? You don't
I
recommend?
think you should just approve them as they are, and then we move forward.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approve expenditure to replace existing gutters at Academy Row Meeting House Green Townhomes in conjunction with roof replacement project. This is a service area reserve expense. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
We've got bids from 3 vendors, from Gutter King, J-Jam Construction, and American Seamless Gutters. The bids range from $19,242 to $24,770. Gutter King is more expensive than the other two. We are recommending Gutter King simply because they've been working on these buildings, they've been working on the project. And the money is in reserves. It's been, budgeted for all along. So we're just asking for you to approve those.
Any further discussion or questions in regards to gutters? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approved.
Eric, before you go, I think we missed three.
Yeah, we did.
I was thinking, I was like, how did that go?
Tab 3.
Kind of an important
The audit.
one,
Like,
too.
I got it, and I did that wrong.
I went to public school, I'm sorry. Okay, approval of 2014 audited financial statements for Celebration Residential Owners Association and Celebration Joint Committee. See tab 3.
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I would just like to, Lori, you may want to address they came out clean, basically.
Absolutely. Very clean. In fact, very few adjusting entries. For CJC and Canoa, there were no adjusting entries, so we're very proud of that. I also wanted to point out to you that the last several years you had requested that the auditor provide us with a spreadsheet showing, the operating funds at the end of the year, and they recommend that we have funds on hand to cover 60 days worth of expenses, and then they show what our operating cash surplus is. And every single service area and CROA have a significant cash surplus, so we're very proud of that.
Sounds good.
I just wanted to request one copy of the final audit, just the final report.
In addition, you have a
digital
hard
copy.
copy in your book. Do you want another copy?
This is their final copy.
That is the final copy.
There's there's.
The only other thing I have for CROA is a sheet with adjusting entries, but that's everything.
This is everything other than that?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay then. Okay.
Yeah.
Really good.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I'm gonna follow.
We're going to 5 as listed on the sheet, which is technically 6. All right? Okay. Approved proposal from William John Associates for $9,300 to serve as owner's rep and inspect the work for compliance with specifications and approved payments. Academy Row Meeting House Green Reserve Area Expense. This is tab 4 for those in paper. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion.
This individual will actually be, I want to make notes of who did the thing since I'm taking a minute tonight, so if you'll
Double
bear
duty.
with me. Yeah. Roofing consultants, we've got a very strong list of references. What they actually will be doing, they'll be reviewing the contract, holding the pre-construction meeting. They'll be doing inspections on the building, 2 inspections per building, 1 in progress and 1 for the final punch list. They will be authorizing us to release payment for each building as the work is completed. And the cost is $9,300. It also includes inspections on the garage roofs as well. We had also requested a proposal from the roofing engineers who prepared the specs. And we would have been prepared to go with them, but we couldn't get them to lock down the amount of time that they thought that it would take, or lock down what they thought the cost would be. They were anticipating it could be as much as $9,000 a month. All they would give us was an hourly rate. So that's why we went out and contacted this individual with references. And so we do ask that the board approve this proposal.
Perfect. Any further discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Approve $4,000 even expenditure for landscaping improvements at Reserve Park to be completed by Davy Tree. This is a CROA operating expense. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
What's a cookie pond?
It's a cute looking tree. It's like a.
Kunti palm is grows short to the ground.
little one.
They almost look like they have a little pine cone.
I Googled it.
that
I didn't know what was
grows
on
up from the base of them. There are lots of them in celebration.
And just for those that don't know where Reserve Park is, Reserve Park is?
It's up in North Village.
It's on Reserve Place.
Jack can tell you very well.
Been there many times.
And it really does need some loving care. We do have some photos here in your packet, under the tab. So we do plan to pay for this from the operating expense, so we still have our landscape reserves for the larger projects.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved $40,409.76 expenditure for synthetic turf installation at North Village Playgrounds. This is a CROA reserve expense. Tab 6 for those with paper. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
If you remember, we, a month ago, took out some synthetic turf from Spring Park, and we were able to salvage it, and we were identifying places to use it. These two parks in North Village have part of the park is mulch, so we're going to continue the synthetic turf. It will look seamless with the existing synthetic turf. So they have to put down the material underneath it, and then they'll put the synthetic turf. So we get it out of our storage and on the ground where it needs to be.
And this is the same installation provider that we had used for the
That is a
recent
new
installation, which everyone's been very happy with if you've been out
Yes.
to that park over there.
And we actually got another bid, and this one is the low bid. So they did a great job with it. They know the turf, they cut it, so I think it's a good fit for this.
Sounds good. Any further discussion on the turf?
I just have a question. Do they have anything in the contract if whatever happens with the other one before? Do we have any?
They do. We'll put together the contract, just like we did for Spring Park. The scope includes everything that they're going to do with it, how it satisfies the ASTM 1487, which are all fall zone certified playground safety inspection. I mean, there's a whole, it
But
will
it'll
all
follow
be.
the same contract you use for
Follow the
Spring
park. Is there, how long of the time frame do we have as far as any guarantee?
They won't warranty this turf. It's not their turf. It's salvage turf.
Yeah, that was agreed on.
But they'll warranty the job, their installation that they do.
And there's obviously a cost savings to us.
There is a cost savings, right?
Perfect.
And it's a budgeted reserve expense also.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, approval to convert $120 and no cents in lawn maintenance charges on 3 properties and $56,500 and no cents in fines on 6 properties to specific assessments. This is tab 7 for those in paper.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Yeah, great, discussion.
Pretty self-explanatory. It's just part of our collection process.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approval to move forward with the next steps in the collection or foreclosure process as outlined in the legal requests to the board for May. This is tab 8.
There's no action needed. We kept tab 8 as a place saver. Steve and I did not discuss all of the accounts that might need board authorization to move forward until Friday afternoon. So we don't at the present time have anything that we need to ask you to authorize. So we can just skip tab 8.
No action required.
Correct.
So moved.
So moved. Perfect. No action. Approval of homeowner requests for June, which is tab 9. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
Yes, line number 8. My issue with that is that they owe us over $1,800. That's basically 2 years of dues, and they're looking to waive fees without having to pay any money yet.
Actually, what this is all about, Jack, is we were getting ready to foreclose.
Yes.
They got the notice to foreclose. They have come to the attorney and said that they want to pay the account off in full. So they asked if we would be willing to waive attorney fees. Of course, we said no. They asked if we would be willing to waive attorney late fees and interest. We said no, we couldn't waive them all. The best we could do was half. And they have committed
Of
to
late
pay-
fees and interest.
Late fees and interest. It's $132.91.
But they're going to pay the...
Yeah, but they still owe the $1,800, which you said they've committed to pay, which won't be paid till June 30th, right?
They have to pay everything by June 30th or there's no deal whatsoever.
Okay.
Wait and vote on that after. Right.
I would prefer to wait, but the rest of the group is for
Well, we could do a contingent on them actually doing it, so we don't have to revisit this.
All right.
I support that, Jeff.
Does someone
Okay.
want to make a motion for the?
Make the motion that we, item number 8,
Eric, would you guys like to split this one up? Because we have the first one, the fees, waivers, and other, and then we have 3 separate individual payment plans that you might want to consider individually.
Yeah, we
So
can.
separate motion.
We can do that. So do I have a motion for the board request, correct? No.
Yes, for the
Yes,
fee
the board
waiver. and
request.
other.
For
The fee waiver.
For the fee waivers. Is that a motion?
Motion.
All right, in a second?
Second.
Okay, so this is specifically to the board request, the fee waivers only.
The 8 items
The
listed.
8 items listed.
Yes.
And if I understand correctly, number 8, Jack, you wanted that to be contingent upon.
Payment on
Receipt
June
of payment
30th.
in full.
I think that's on the recommendation, isn't it?
It is.
Gotcha, yep. So any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so then we will move to the board request for payment plans. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Are we doing them
Do A, B,
individually?
and
I'm
there's 3, so
sorry.
we go A,
Motion
B,
for
C.
A.
For a motion for A.
Motion for A.
Second.
All right, and now we're on discussion for A.
It's just an individual lost his job, came to us, knew he was a little bit behind, and you can see that his current balance is only $334.
Yeah, he'll be paid off by October.
So
This is the most updated.
This is the most updated one.
Yeah.
Hard copy is the most updated.
He is just asking to make 4 payments of $158.79.
And they've never asked before? No.
Gotcha. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, A carries. A motion for letter B.
How's letter B set?
I think on this, like the other one we did, I'd like to wait till it's been paid before we waive.
Well, I think we need to have more discussion because he's asked for a waiver of legal fees for one thing.
Forget that.
And I'm not willing to waive any legal fees. We're not going to pick up his expenses.
But do we have a...
We just have a motion to
Okay,
discuss it, though, a motion, yeah.
Do I have
Is this,
I motioned.
okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right,
Just 'cause
perfect.
I have a
it's-
question, because mine is not labeled as B, so we're just assuming it's the one after.
It's the sheet. I'm
It would
sorry.
be the second one, right?
It
Yes.
is the second one.
It's the second one, okay, I'm looking online, I just want to make sure.
So no legal fees, just,
Well, no, there's more
Got
to
it,
discuss
okay.
on this one here.
Is the online version the same as the paper version? that you put
No.
us?
No.
The only difference is that I've labeled them A, B, and C.
Oh, really?
All right. So no difference then, okay. I got it, I just want to make sure the one I'm looking at
All right,
is.
so Lori, do you want to talk about this one? Because he had a huge balance that 2011 was the last time he paid any money.
I'm actually going to
I mean,
let Steve handle this one because he's been in communication with the gentleman directly.
Right, he has had a payment plan in the past, and he did have the attorney's fees that held over from 2014. There has not been a payment made. The credits were being used for payment, and then now for this year, we have not received a assessment or a trash fee. So he's requesting, term begins September 2015 for 6 months with that payment amount, but that's going to go up if you do not approve the waiver of the legal fee.
All right, so what would the bill be without the waiver of the legal
The
fee?
last item, it's $1,587.43 for the remainder of 2015.
Have we ever waived attorney's fees in the past?
Well,
We get charged the attorney's fees no matter what. The attorney
I know
won't-
that's what,
It's
yeah,
like cost.
exactly. That's why I was, so there is no precedence to do that.
But he's requested, so we said we would put it before the vote.
Okay.
So the payment without the attorney's fees for 6 months would come to $264.57 per month.
so what did somebody make a motion for?
Motion to discuss.
Just to discuss.
On B.
All right, I move
There's
to
a
the...
motion to discuss, not to approve? That doesn't make sense.
Well,
Because I don't want to approve it.
I
Well,
move...
then it's either motion to approve or not to approve.
All right, I move to approve the payment plan, which includes the payment of the legal fees at $264 and whatever cents it is for that 8-month period,
6 months.
6-month period.
can I add, we don't waive the interest until it's paid? Just keep it.
He's asking that we hold off on any additional, waive the interest and late fees and hold off on any additional while he catches up on this payment plan.
All right, then I'll modify that request
And
as
this
per
may-
Debbie's.
This may not be relevant. Is
No,
this
I'm
house
saying
in
don't.
compliance with covenants?
I'm saying,
Pay nothing.
unless it's paid, I'm not withholding interest either. Go with your motion, Jack, you're fine.
So Jack, you modified yours
Well, I was
to reflect
going
Debbie?
to reflect that, but I want the whole amount paid. We'll rebate back the interest and late fees to him when he pays it.
Well, that might be, I mean, what's the reason, what good is that?
You know?
If we're going to give somebody, if they have trouble paying it, we're going to give somebody that, no, we shouldn't ask for it.
All right, so what are you suggesting then?
Well, what is, I mean, based upon, you've had the contact with the owner, what is your recommendation?
Based on my conversations with him, the least amount that he can pay over the next 6 months while he starts a new job will be better for him to get caught up. Again, you guys make the decision. I don't know if I can give a recommendation, yes or no, because he has had one in the past, but
But he paid it off, though.
He did. Well, he used the credits that were given.
Right.
So he is asking at the least amount that you can for that 6-month time frame. If he can pay it in full without the interest and late fees, then he pays it in full, and then we move on next year, and hopefully
So
everything
what
gets
would
back
be
in order.
what would be the amount then?
$264.57 for 6 months. And then he has to pay 2016 on time.
On time.
Right.
And we're not, just for everybody's edification, we're not waiving any attorney's fees at all.
No.
Right.
Okay, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. So any further discussion on Jack's motion as discussed? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And now we're looking at C.
Let's make sure I have the same.
It's the same, they just labeled him.
Same guy?
No, different guy.
No, quick.
Okay, that's messed up. Date of last payment?
He sued you guys before.
2 years, right?
Well, once again, he's requesting the legal fees to go away. And Lori, can you provide us where the overcharges were on legal fees and stuff like that, what occurred?
They're not really overcharges. It goes back to the property had been in default, the mortgage company foreclosed. He owed us money during all that time. We monitored his account for 5 years. Part of his expense, the legal fees, was you'll see here there was $1,070.64 in monitoring fees over the course of the default on him paying assessments.
And he wants us to waive that legal fee.
Right, and then he also claims that he was overcharged $433.50 in legal fees. And that's basically because when he contacted us at one point and asked what his legal fees were, we said they were X amount of dollars, but when we got the final bill from the attorney, $433 more was actually added to the account. Now, that all was part of an action that took place in 2013. So that whole account, he worked out a mortgage modification plan. All of those attorney's fees that he's asking now to have refunded back to him were included in the mortgage modification that he agreed to. And then the money was paid as part of an escrow fund from the mortgage company. CROA got their fees. And then with the interest and late fees that the board agreed in 2013 that they would waive on his account, that carried him through 2014, paid all of his assessments through 2014. And we're talking CROA and service area.
Right.
But he hasn't made a payment since. So 2015 starts, again, we've had no payments. Now he contacted Steve and, first of all, he's asking that those attorney's fees from 2013 be removed.
Nope.
He's asking that all of the interest and late fees for 2015 be waived. He's asking that no more interest or late fees or attorney's action be taken on his account in 2015. And he's saying that if the board agrees to do all of those things, then he would like a payment plan where he would pay $150 a month for 12 months.
So if we don't agree to any of that, what's his other option? He doesn't provide anything, correct?
This is what he asked for.
This is what he asked for.
Right.
Okay. There's no option B.
I don't see.
I feel that he already was given quite a bit of relief, historically also, and Cindy reached out to him on January 31st, 2014. He didn't reply till mid-April.
And her correspondence was, you're covered through the end of this year. You'll start back up in January of 2015.
And I, in reading the correspondence, don't feel that failed maintenance is a valid reason for non-payment. We all have things that go wrong with our house, we still have to pay our mortgage.
And he makes comments about the quality of landscaping
Yeah, that's not a
outside his
reason not to
townhome. But the whole reason why his landscaping has not been rectified yet is we're waiting for the roofing project, and everybody in this service area knows.
And they're still paying.
He's challenging the fact that he doesn't think the roof needs to be replaced when it does need to be replaced. So he makes all kinds of arguments, but
they're not. I don't think about it.
The he talks about $1,070.64 in monitoring fees to the CROA's attorney. Is that an actual cost that we billed?
it was an actual cost. And he agreed to it in the previous modification plan.
Okay.
Yeah, you can make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to deny.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to deny letter C.
And who seconded it?
Me.
Dave?
Any further discussion?
I will probably vote for this motion to deny, but there may be something, this is, what he's asking for is not going to happen.
Well, let me just, I did some quick math here, and if my math is correct, it looks like if you keep the attorney's fees in there and you divide it by the 12-month time frame that they're asking, it goes to $282.21 a month. But you still have to pay on time, and this just rounds out to the end of 2015. You'll have to pay the 2016 on time also.
Which is to me something. I mean, that's an alternative that you might accept, and also something that we've done consistent in the past. And we're not waiving attorney's fees, and it's also contingent on actually being on time. And so anyway, I know the motion was to deny, but that might be an alternative.
You mean a counter offer?
Yeah.
I'll make the
To amend it?
counter deny. I wouldn't deny it. Put a vote on it.
So it was Debbie's motion.
So yeah, Debbie, do you want to amend your motion for the math, essentially, that Steve allowed, or we can vote on the denial?
Well, and to be consistent with what you did with the previous one, it would be interest and late fee waived, the attorney's fees stay in, and the payment plan over the 12-month time frame that's requested. And again, that's $282.21 a month.
I guess if it was the first time for this person or a second time?
Well, the other person had a plan also.
Can I ask you a question, though?
I'm not saying I didn't approve it the first time. Don't look at me.
What again were the interest and late fees again that we're waiving? Why are we going to waive this?
Well, I think what we're saying is the alternative is what we could do is give them interest and late fees. What we did on the last one was we waived it if they actually brought their house up into.
Call for a vote on this.
And so I think that's just the question is we should we not deny this and give somebody the same that we did only because he's complaining about other things that have nothing to do with it.
Was that the homeowner's first time on the other person?
I'm sorry?
The one that
the prior one had a previous payment.
Right.
Was that the first
And then
payment
reflect the
plan?
late fees being lost.
The last one was the first one, this was their second.
This person's had how many payment plans?
Late fees and interest.
Two? Is this the
Two at
second?
least, maybe
I would have to
three?
see a good faith.
Call for a vote on it.
Right. Say that again.
It's not a problem.
Oh, for this?
Yes.
Oh, I agree.
Call
But
for a vote on it. Let's go.
So Debbie, are you going to resolve it?
I don't want to amend.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to deny the homeowner request. All those in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, so that C is denied. All right.
Well, the thing, if you're looking at me, I think he can come back to us and he can say, he can come back with another proposal, but we're not accepting this proposal. So I'm not that concerned because.
No problem with Steve doing the math and going back to him and saying, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
But I believe they will accept this.
Right. I think this individual has tested us
Exactly.
a lot.
I remember the name quite well.
Yes.
So we're moving on to our last item, which is general board comments. And Jack, I'll start with you because I know you had some things.
Okay, last month I presented everybody a proposed county ordinance, and this came about mainly because we have a very difficult situation when it comes to controlling dumpsters, construction trailers, the various vehicles parking on the county roads and stuff like that. The only recourse we have as homeowners is to send a 14-day notice out to our property owner, if that's who's at fault, and ask them to move it. We can't do anything about construction companies. So looking in the Osceola County codes and realizing that some homeowners associations have had ordinances passed by the county commission, what I would like is a sense from the board to pursue this. Now, I've given you a copy of what it looks like. This actually has started out with Cliff Akey, and he's actually gone forward beyond what I expected to go with talking with Dave Tomac at the county, and their attorneys are looking to see if it's feasible. So all I'm looking for is the board to say, hey, do we want to pursue this? Now, what this does is it puts enforcement action for these items on the county. As a sheriff, it's $100 per day for fine. It also gives us the ability to create permits for dumpsters and pods, which can be renewed. And there are some specifics about what type of dumpsters you can have as far as labeling and things like that. But it gives us a much better control, and it reflects a lot of the stuff that's already in our charter regarding commercial vehicle parking and things like that. Okay.
So just so that we're I'll let you go. Just so that we're clear, so that everyone understands what's going on. The county ordinance, it would be a county ordinance, so there wouldn't necessarily be any rule or covenant or anything from the homeowners association, with the exception of and Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but the homeowners association would be the issuing agency for permits. Correct?
Right. ARC would permit the dumpsters, and Covenants would permit the pods.
Gotcha. So Jack's looking just for general feedback, essentially for us to, and Jack, I assume you would approach the county on this one?
Yes, actually, I'll be meeting with Cliff tomorrow. So,
Is there anything in here if it's a real hazard on the road? It could
yes.
be impounded immediately?
No, but it'd be something that would be cited for a fine.
I would impound it. If you're going to put something like that into effect.
You can force it to be towed too.
Right, exactly.
But so I have a couple questions. I'm not sure I want to get in the questions
Can
now.
I ask one question first, because I know you have a couple. When I was looking through there, the thing about keeping the garage doors must be closed.
No, that's not part of this.
Okay, we're good on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not part of
That
this.
was just, okay.
So do we want to, I like the idea of doing something like this. I'm sure there's some details we have to work out, but how do we want to work on those details?
Putting more on it.
Well, I think the first thing is to see if the county says this is feasible, and our attorneys say it can be done, and then we work together to fine tune it.
So if we start issuing the permits for the dumpsters and the pods?
We won't do any of that stuff until the ordinance is approved.
Right, but if it was approved, would be responsible for finding them if it was not
No,
done accordingly?
County does.
County's enforcing it.
Okay, so
Code
we're just issuing
enforcement comes out, or either the sheriff.
But how does the homeowner association issue a permit that a government entity is going to enforce? It just doesn't seem...
It's in here as part of the county ordinance.
No, I see it's part of the county ordinance, but has it ever been...
So, for instance,
it just seems...
So I did some homework because not that
I checked it, Don McDonald. It was Indian Wells did it.
Yes.
And had enforcement power.
There's actually two
Indian Wells Homeowner Association?
Yes.
Or CDD?
No,
Homeowner Association went to the county.
So, exactly what Don was going to say. Not that I don't believe Jack, but I went, and to be honest, I discovered this by accident. If anyone's ever driving over to Walmart and you drive down whatever that little road is that connects you over to Walmart from
Polynesian Boulevard.
Yeah, Polynesian Isles, that one over there. you'll notice there's a big sign over there that states that there's no parking on grass streets. There's a whole bunch of restrictions. And at the bottom of it, it's a county ordinance. It says Osceola County Code and Ordinance right at the bottom of the sign. And I was like, I think this is what Jack's talking about. So what I did was I went to my friend, the Google. And I went to Google, and I plugged it in there, and sure enough, there's county ordinance on file with it. It's the weirdest county ordinance I've probably ever seen just from looking at county ordinances, but it kind of makes sense. Essentially, what they had a problem there is they are much of a vacation rental community. So they had a lot of people with RVs, they had a lot of people with boat trailers, different things like that. It was hard for the homeowners association to support that because they had even less infrastructure than we do here by far, as far as a staff and management perspective. So what they kind of did was kind of offloaded some of their enforcement ability to the county. So then the sheriff, if the sheriff sees or gets a complaint in regards to a boat being parked on someone's front yard or a vehicle parked on someone's front yard, there's enforcement action against it. So the sheriff can come out or the code enforcement can come out and then they can kind of deal with it rather than it being just specifically a homeowners association issue at that point. So it does exist. And as Don pointed out,
Do we do that now? I mean, like, I remember the sheriff coming and saying, someone said there's an abandoned car here 30 days.
They can't do it on county roads. They really can't do anything. So theoretically, the association can enforce some of the things that we talked about if it's not a resident tied to a resident.
Right.
So I think this
you
is
need the
giving us more
ordinance.
teeth for ordinance. And so I would say my fear, by the way, I like the idea that you did this and I appreciate this. My fear is by taking the next step without board looking through this ordinance, it may be where they take that, which we might want to tweak slightly, you know what I mean? And this might become a county ordinance without us having discussion on the county ordinance. So I would say that if you asked me for my choice, I would say make this a discussion on a workshop, make us discuss it, and get the words out that we like, and put it, by the way, 30 days for
There's
for
no
residents.
question about this, because it will be the association that has to request this of the county. It's not me going up to the county and saying, hey, we want this ordinance. So I gave it to you all last month, so it's something for us to discuss. But all I want to know is if we're willing to go forward with this, then I'll keep doing it. Otherwise, I'll just drop it like a hot potato.
I think what Lee's saying is we just want to read it again because as much as we should have taken it home and read it right away, we didn't.
If we're going to make it an association, well, if we're going to make it an association business, it should be on our agenda. We should vote yes for it and give you the authority to kind of discuss that. And then it should be worded properly. Obviously, there might be some things we want to change as a group. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying
any ordinance like that, the
board should approve.
The county attorneys go
what you're
through this
doing.
and make sure it's written properly.
What I'm kind of hearing, I'm not hearing a big dissension, and I guess I'll be the dissension, but not that I'm not for it, but if I want to, and I guess this would be my question, if I want to, I have ARC approval, let's ignore that, and I'm going to add a chimney on the front of my house or something like that. No, let's do internal. I want to rip out a wall, okay? I have a dumpster. How do I get that dumpster? Because I still want to be able to have one.
All right.
Driveway.
Your contractor would call for the dumpster company, but you would get a permit from ARC at the time of approval for a dumpster, and it would be for 10 days, which can be extended by the ARC coordinator.
Okay.
Beyond 30 days, it requires board approval to keep it there.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, the reason I'm going with this is because I've had a dumpster around the corner of my house for 2 months now, which is absolutely ridiculous.
There's a couple Jack, we've got two.
I don't know if it's ridiculous because it might be a 4-month construction.
No, there's no major construction.
I don't know that. I'm
They
just
can
saying I
get
don't know
extended.
that.
But Jack, one of the things I've seen lately are these little paper dumpsters, and you come around the corner and you almost hit them with your car.
I agree, and there needs to be labeling on. But let me go back to what you're addressing, Lee, because we do have in our design guidelines for structural changes boilerplate that's supposed to be added to the permits to say dumpsters can't be more than 21 days.
Yeah, but
we're not enforcing it.
But now we're in ordinance, and we also in celebration, we don't only have residential and we have non-residential also. But these are things I want to discuss in a discussion, which I think you would bring up valid points, but I'm not sure this is the forum to do it at the end of the meeting. Because you bring up good points, and we might want to send it out to the residents so they can bring up other things too.
There's county permits. You have to get a county permit on certain things.
So I think what would make sense.
But if I have want a pod in front of my house, do I have to go to the ARC to request a pod in front of my house and wait for the ARC to do that? Anyway, I have questions, and a great idea, and might be things, but I still have some questions
I
about
think
it.
what would make the most sense here is we all want to look into this, right?
Please.
Right.
Cool? Okay.
I've only been waiting 2 months for you guys to do this.
Yeah, I know, I'm still
Jack, we're a
on,
little
Jack.
slow.
Blame it on the
So
governor.
what I would request, which I know last night at the meeting, we didn't prioritize some of the items for the workshop for July. And so I would ask that, Steve, we add this as a, with the rest of the board's approval, as a workshop item for the month of July, so that then Jack can do, you have a little bit of initial feedback now, we can do the homework, we can get that.
That's fine. I mean, I'm not looking for a blatant passage right now. I'm just looking for
To go forward.
a sense to go forward.
Could you email that to us in the next few days?
Look at it.
Yes.
The July workshop
I'll give you a copy right now.
has,
I'll take this
we
home and
owe
read
you
this.
a mid-year financial review.
Right.
And we also have design guideline discussion on there.
Yep.
So we can add that to it. It's just a matter of
This would be three.
how much time we have to discuss all these and give them the time that they need to
No
discuss.
questions asked at the expense
All right,
of the
so
owner.
I have one more question then.
Go for it.
There is a modification in the plans for the World Food Championship.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we going to stand on that?
Yes.
It's going to be an agenda item for next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, can we do it this month?
No, so what happened is, so folks at home kind of understand what's going on. World Food Championships did approach the Homeowner Association in between since the last approval of the agreement that we had with them in regards to both the deposit for damages as well as what they were going to provide to us in regards to services.
So they didn't want to do the $10,000 deposit, right?
There was a question in regards to the amount of the deposit because the scale of their event wasn't going to be as large as what they were originally intending to use the Great Lawn for. So what we have asked, we went back, I asked Steve and Lori went back because I know we want to make sure if we're going to dissolve or modify any part of the contract that we approved, that we're just all above board with it. There is no dissolve clause in the contract as it is today. So what we're going to do, and Steve and Lori, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that we have, or are going to ask World Food Championships to come to us with essentially a presentation in writing that states, what they're requesting to do, what they're going to dissolve, what they're expecting, if anything, from the Homeowners Association now, which would then be made as an action item for the next meeting. So
Can
we
I
can
ask
vote on
a
it.
question? If I know there's no dissolve clause, but if they're not honoring the $10,000 deposit or they're not honoring the $10,000 payment, would not the contract be null and void on the terms?
Well, that's the point, is that they're going to come back with, they are going to be here in November, so we still want to be good partners with them and still work with them. But they
still
want
want to do the event?
well, no, but they want to provide some information to us on why they can't do the Pie Festival and some other things that I think through my discussions are understandable. So at that time, it would be an agenda item, then an action item to go ahead and dissolve the agreement based on the fact that they couldn't honor two of the items that were in the
So
original
essentially, we're
agreement.
accomplishing the same thing. We
Right.
are dissolving the agreement, but we just wanted to go a step further.
Are we doing a new agreement?
Well, the agreement is dissolved. The agreement is dissolved.
Yeah.
So do we want to do a new agreement with them? Right?
Well, that was the point of me reaching out to everybody.
because they're asking for half the money and something else, and maybe we wanted to. I mean, that's it. We may want to do it, but the agreement is.
I don't wanna do it.
The agreement was X. They're not providing X.
I'd
So
have
there's no
charged
more
them
agreement.
$30,000, not $10,000.
But anyway,
Holy sauce.
so the agreement is. I don't think we have to worry about the agreement. If they want to come with a different proposal to us, which that's what it sounds like, they're coming with an alternative proposal, then we should listen to it.
Well, you're right, and I shared the proposal with everyone just to get some feedback on it. No action taken, just to get some feedback, and it didn't sound like that was something that was going to be approved. So it was more of just a dissolve.
I didn't comment at all on it on purpose because I want to hear what they said.
Can I ask one thing? If they
I wish they were here this
before
week.
they come back, just as a
Oh, okay.
calm down there, calm down. I just
Well, I've
before
been
they
talking-
come back, can I ask one thing?
Sure.
I would like to know the names of who they approached for sponsorship for the Pie Festival. I'd like to know who they approached.
Okay.
Because I don't mean to be cynical, but I don't think they asked a lot of people because there's a tremendous amount of support for that.
Right.
They said they could not get sponsorship for the Pie Festival. It's a very loved and well-supported event in town. And if I can get $7,000 with 3 phone calls for a calendar, I'm just thinking I just want to know who they asked.
Well, I can definitely ask that. Is the consensus from the board then that you would like to negotiate a different proposal?
I would not, but they may.
I would like to hear alternatives. I mean, remember, I was one that was against it, but the fact is, I'm not, the Pie Festival to me is, I didn't want to combine the two anyway. I wanted the food festival to live on its own. I thought the Pie Festival ran its course. We didn't, you know what I mean? And my biggest thing was having resident events. So if they want to come to us and say, we're alternative doing something for the residents, I'm happy to listen because the event's going on anyway. So maybe we get our parking out of it. Maybe, maybe we don't get our parking taken away for the whole week. Maybe we have resident events. They're partners. Why not listen to
Steve,
what they have to say? And I wish we would have done it sooner as opposed to.
Well, because I think that what they did is they used the Pie Festival as an entrance to our community.
I don't think they did it on purpose.
How do you know that?
Well, I don't know that, but I don't know.
Eric, would you like to call on Pat?
Real quick.
I think Pat has a comment.
In reference to the Pie Festival, I also, just some background, it's not, David, you're right, they didn't go global.
Lead, do you need to be at a microphone?
Smaller people. What they did do is they were looking for big sponsors. So that might
So they went to Crisco yeah.
So, but the main reason the Pie Festival shut down here is their board of directors was changing and they were worn out.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And they didn't, the ones that used to go out there and work side by side with all of our volunteers and were the catalysts that brought all the pies in, because all those pies are donated. They were losing all their donations.
Absolutely.
So even if we had sponsorships, we had no pie.
Right.
So that's the kind of the behind the scenes part.
And that's fine, but the World Food Championship comes in with a $500,000 prize using the Pie Festival as a foot in the door.
We forced them. I think me as I think an objective person, because I didn't.
It's your fault.
No, I didn't force them. I think that we as a community, when we talked about it, is we kind of forced them to throw in the Pie Festival into this to make it more palatable for us. And I'm not sure they wanted to do that. That was, it was like, I can try to make it happen for you. Not 100% sure. I have to go back and do this stuff. We've done Pie Festival, So we forced this World Food Champions to have the Pie Festival, when the fact is, I think we were saying it wasn't going to happen. The Pie Festival, the Pie Council wasn't going to run it. They were going to run it. So they came along and we said, hey, we want, and I think they were just trying to please us.
Can I just, I think that we're putting a lot of words into somebody's mouth that we really shouldn't be. I would say that why don't we just wait till next month when they come back, rather than, because we're supposing and we're putting a lot of supposition into something that we really have no place in saying. That's my
feeling was just that they said they would do many things or not do anything.
So I think what makes the most sense here is, because you kind of put the proposal out to get a temperature of the board. And there's a temperature here. But I think the temperature that we've gotten is we'd like to see a formal proposal from them that we can vote yay or nay, or.
That's not what I saw in the email, but that's what.
Yeah, but wasn't it said, because that's what I read, I think.
That's what I read.
That they don't really need the Great Lawn, they can move it elsewhere into the town itself. Well, if that's the case, then let them move it in there.
But
what's the big deal about it?
They didn't need Lakeside at all. They could have done it within the town also, but we agreed to do that.
So then they don't need it, the grass doesn't get ruined, move it out to the pavement.
So I guess my question then is for the board that we kind of need to figure out is, do we want to, because if we're just going to tell them no next month.
Yeah, I say to heck with it.
Or do we want to look at what a alternate proposal based on the feedback that Steve's already proposed?
If they don't need the Great Lawn, they can move the thing elsewhere, whatever they're going to do out there. So move it. What's the big deal? Then that's it. The deal's done. Done. We're out of it.
My comment is,
no sitting voting on things and doing all stupid things.
We're going to talk about July, and this is a November event. Yeah. I don't know that we're giving them even if we do have a proposal, are they going to be able to do anything with it?
I'm a no. Are you a no? How do you feel?
No, I say no.
All right, here's the way I feel about this. First off, they came to us with a plan that it's a long-term relationship is what they wanted to do. Okay, I'd like to see if we can explore the long-term feasibility of this. May not have a Pie Festival this year, probably won't possibly have this the following year, so I don't want to shut it out.
Absolutely.
Well, they'd be willing to still talk in future years of things that we want to
Well,
do.
yeah, but I don't want to slam dunk them to say that we're not going to cooperate with us.
And they're
Because
still
we
doing the
might.
community events too. I think they're still doing all.
That was the reason why I voted against it, was number one, because I wanted community-based stuff at our Lakeside Park, which is a community park owned by the residents, and now there sounds like the offering is community-based event at Lakeside Park, which is why I want to hear it.
Right.
Because that's all I wanted, was this to be something with the residents. So, I mean...
Isn't this Kissimmee?
Well, no, I'm not saying, I don't know that, but we haven't heard them. So how do we talk to them?
Isn't this Kissimmee thing pushing this? Whatever the heck is over there?
Experience Kissimmee.
Because, I mean, I know, I've seen it on the front porch about people a little disturbed about not being called Celebration. It's actually just Kissimmee, because technically they think this is Kissimmee here.
I think it's labeled as Celebration in the heart of Kissimmee.
In the heart of
It does
Kissimmee.
say
Kissimmee's
Celebration.
way down there on Main Street.
So
down by Lake Eola.
Have an issue with that, too.
It's moving over there, or wherever the hell it, not Toho, or whatever the hell they call it.
Did you get the impression that
Like Toho,
we needed
that's
to
where the
make a
rotten water
decision
comes
quickly
from.
on this, or would they be able to
Could they do a proposal?
come back with a more formal proposal?
I've been talking with Mike, the CEO for the company, and he has been very understanding. In fact, he's apologetic that they couldn't make this one work, and he is willing to continue to talk to us for future events. They can make it work in Lexington if they need to. They would still like to do it at Lakeside Park, but if we can't do it, if we can't get a consensus, then they can make it work within Lexington and still want to work with us on community events and future events.
Could we get a proposal by email in 10 days?
I'm sure I can talk to them about a proposal if they want to move forward with it.
So, and I think to Jack's point as well, looking forward to a possible long-term relationship as well. So hearing maybe, long-range plans, not that we'd be voting or approving any of those, but understanding what kind of more of a long-range agreement would be.
My guess is it would be dependent upon how this year goes.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And, from their perspective, too.
I did have a question that I didn't get it from any of the emails, and also this very helpful discussion we've been having so far on this topic. Are they still looking for Lakeside for the whole week?
It's been narrowed down to the 4th through the 9th now, as opposed to the 1st through the 10th. So it's
Okay, so that's a little bit different than...
It would just be the Great Lawn. It would just be for like food demonstrations,
And no parking.
grills.
But I think last time it was
everything.
We didn't want them to shut off, Lakeside parking for residents. So we'd be able to park there? Well,
Yes, the parking lot
everything would be
bring them on. Let's talk to them. It sounds like it's completely different. That might be more palatable.
10 days?
Well, can we do it tonight? Can we do it tomorrow? I don't care.
No, I mean, can we get a proposal in 10 days that we can look at rather than wait a month?
Yeah,
Just for planning
let's
purposes?
talk to them.
So, Steve, I think we're having a lot of questions that we just don't have the answers
Yes.
to. So I think, Steve, you've gotten the temperature of the board this evening. If you want to go back to the representative and just say, hey, here's where we're at, see what we can get for a proposal. If you can find out from them the timeline, they would be able to get us a proposal
We're gonna wreck the grass
to
over
us
there. We gotta pay.
in that time. But then that way we could be able to email it out to the rest of the board so that people would be able to understand, okay, in 10 days or 15 days or whatever, we're going to be able to see a proposal from them, and then we can figure out if we're going to take an action item on it for a future meeting. Is everyone comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with 10 days.
Okay.
Vanessa, you good with 10 days?
Any further discussion for the good of the order?
No, you don't get
I
it.
moved to adjourn.
Yeah,
All right.
let's go out in the rain.
Adjourned. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Fun.
I had tons of fruit.
Oh, that's right.
Who's coming tomorrow night?
They wanted him to stay. They did.
Leonard, I love your dog.
Lots of places were...
I remember working with him at Posh Foods about 8
Yes.